Hello, welcome everyone to Colin and Curtis in the morning. It is episode 57. Colin, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Curtis. How are you today?
I am great. Colin, we have quite the show. There are some real bombs being dropped, figuratively, as far as major news stories. No literal bombs being dropped that we know of.
Some would say they're golden bombs.
Gold, pure gold. Maybe you have a bad omen about these
Yes.
bombs. Or a good omen if such a thing were to exist. But
Yes.
before we get there, Colin, let's start the show off in a way that normally we don't.
We
We've been
don't.
playing some games.
Yeah.
You've been playing some. I've been playing some.
Mm-hmm.
We got a list here of some stuff that we just kind of want to quickly get through. Just kind of mention it. A few of these I just really want to give more of a shout out and just be like, hey, this game exists and it's out and it's pretty cool and you should check it out.
Yeah.
And then some other some VR stuff again that we can dig into. But to start off, I just want to very quickly mention Tethered. So Colin, Tethered came out this week. It's for PlayStation VR.
Mm-hmm.
It's like $32.99. It's kind of a weird price.
Yeah, I saw that. That's a weird price. Yeah.
It does have a plus discount for like the next week or so that knocks off a few dollars on it. Tethered's like a god game in VR. So what it is, every level you're presented with an island, and on that island, you have peeps. That is what your people. They're not really people.
You actually call
they're just called peeps.
They are called peeps. Wow.
They're called peeps.
Right.
And so what you do, you can have them harvest resources. You can have them build, like a barracks or a farm, or any number of different types of buildings, like a shrine or something. Then you're harvesting food, you're harvesting wood or stone, and then so you're doing that during the day, and then at night these like slug creatures start to invade, and so you have to have them fight off the slugs to keep your resources intact. And so as you're doing this, like if you build a barracks, you can upgrade 2 of your peeps to hero peeps, and then eventually you can upgrade your peeps to like a prospector or a miner or things like that, so that when they go to get resources like food or ore or stone or wood, they're a little better at it than the normal peep level. And it's just a really cool game. Kind of the goal of each level is to harvest a certain amount of spirit energy.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, as you're playing and harvesting resources, building things, fighting off enemies, everything kind of gives off spirit energy. And as you absorb that spirit energy, it goes into the totem of the island. And so you have to get a certain amount to beat each level. And it's just it's a really cool little game. It's the way you control it is you just look at a peep, and by looking at it, a kind of like selection appears around it, and then you hold the X button and you tether the peep to any given thing. There's also like weather, so like a rain cloud, and like let's say for instance, you always want your peeps to be doing things. You always want them to be tethered to something, so they have a job to do. Mm-hmm. If they're not tethered to anything, they might start to feel despair. They might feel like
they're not wanted.
They're not wanted, or they're not doing anything worthwhile, so they might feel bad about themselves.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll start feeling they might get down in the dumps. They might start feeling depressed. And if you want to like help that, you want to change, brighten their spirits, perhaps a sun cloud and a rain cloud shows up, and you can tether the two together and it makes a rainbow. And then you could take that rainbow and tether it to that peep that's feeling depressed, and it will brighten their mood.
Aww.
So that's just one of many things. It's a very, we don't use this word often. It's something that we try not to use in our reviews because it's very we feel like it's overused.
Don't say it.
But it's the C word that ends in arming.
Yeah.
It's great. It's very cute. It's very like the peeps themselves are just like they're adorable. Like they'll wave at you when you beat a level, and they'll jump up and down, and they'll like, I don't know. It's a really cool little game. when the island first comes into view, like in VR, it's pretty striking because you definitely like you have that sense of presence, like it's all laid out in front of you. There was a video up on the site for it to give you kind of a better idea of what's going on in the game. You kind of lose that sense of depth in the video, I think, but man, like it's super cool. I've played only a few levels of it. Each level is like 30 or so minutes long. It's super cool though.
So I am actually watching a little bit of your video right now. Can you move around the area? Like each level, can you move around?
So, around the island, like the island is floating. So around the island, there's different clouds, and each cloud is like a different perspective.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So you can look at any given cloud and kind of change your perspective, the camera angle.
Okay.
On the island. The other thing I do want to mention, and again, like the whole game, even like at nighttime when the slugs are invading, it just like exhibits a very like kind of happy and almost joyful vibe. Like the music's really upbeat and everything, and it kind of changes at nighttime a little bit. But you want to take care of your peeps, because if a peep does go ignored and does get so overwhelmed with despair, something really bad will happen. So I was playing a level and I watched helplessly because I couldn't make any rainbows, and that's the only way to make them feel happy again. So I watched helplessly at this peep who was just kind of crying and his head was sunk down, walked to the edge of the island.
Oh no.
That was floating in the sky, looked down, kind of looked up at you, whimpered a little bit, and just jumped off.
Oh my goodness. That's so sad.
So be careful about your peeps, because you don't want that to happen to you.
Wow.
Yeah, that game throws dark when it needs to.
This game got dark real quick.
So it's a super cool game. There's like 13 stages. I'll have a review up when I finally get through all of it. But I just want to mention it because I don't know, the price right now seems maybe a bit steep to me. Maybe I'll feel a bit differently once I finish the whole game. But man, like it's a really cool little game.
Okay.
For sure. There's a lot more to it than you might expect as well.
Okay.
And also I do want to and this even more briefly, the Dark Souls 3 DLC, the first of 2 DLCs, came out this week. It's the Ashes of Ariandel. It's pretty short. There's 2 new bosses, 1 optional. The areas are like, it's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine. The final boss is really, really cool. Optional boss is kind of okay. The areas, like the new areas themselves are cool. But I feel like I'm starting to feel it with Dark Souls. I'm starting to feel like, I think once the final DLC comes out at the beginning of next year, I think I will be fully okay with that series taking a break for some time. And I think part of it's also like I played so much Dark Souls 3 this year.
Yeah.
That even like not long after I booted up the DLC, I was like, okay, yeah. This is more of this amazing game, but man, yeah, it's part of me wishes they probably just would have done what they did with Bloodborne and combined the 2 DLCs into something bigger.
Sure.
But it is what it is. Still enjoyed it for what it was. Before I get to my one other thing, Colin, you've got a few things here.
Yes.
Yep.
Let's start off with, we can start on the, keep going with the VR train for the most part. I've played a little bit of Batman Arkham VR. I'm really confused. I don't want to say confused. I'm really conflicted with this game. Right off the bat, I'll say I'm not superly overly enjoying it. And it's not to say that it's a bad game. I just don't know if I'm that into Batman all that much. Because I actually played a little bit of the Arkham games, and I just honestly never really got into them. I've never really been that big of a Batman fan. Where I was so just kind of
being the Bat just doesn't mean that much to you.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm just not the Batman. I don't know. But we were talking off air, and the best way I can almost describe this game as like a superhero job simulator. Basically, like you go to each different area, and you're like, oh, okay, well, here's this random gadget and this objective I have to do, and then you just do the random thing. Or one of the parts is, you descend into the bat cave and you have this console in front of you and you have these different blood vials you can shake and test the blood in them or something like that. And then there's this video you can pick up and then plug it in like a VCR tape and watch this video. Or you can press this button and then you can start throwing your batarangs at these targets. It just seems like just a bunch of just random things you can do in a game. And I'm just not overly sure that I'm actually enjoying it all that much. And I do think part of it is that I'm just not into Batman all that much. I think part of it's just that I don't really find the game all that interesting. It's trying to take it's almost like a short side quest almost that you maybe find in like an Arkham or something. Like it's like an episode of like the cartoon show, like just trying to condense it into like, okay, here's the situation, here's what's happening. Okay, just go. Like there's no real context for it. But I still want to play more. It's still pretty short, and I just need to get time to finish it, and I'll probably try and get to that this weekend. But the other one I've been playing is Ace Banana, which is from Oasis Games, which was the one of the launch games, another launch game for PlayStation VR. Basically, it works kind of like I think Sports Champions had a mode, but there's like a mode in like Wii Sports Resort where where you're aiming. You're pulling back the bow with the Wii remotes or the Move controllers, and you're aiming and you're shooting. I think Sports Champions had like an archery mode where stuff like that. It's okay. One kind of problem we've kind of been talking about off air again is turning like so far away from the camera with the headset and the Move controllers that the camera, like your body, just like gets in the way. And the Move controllers don't respond. And so for this game, there isn't really anything that recenters it. And it's pretty, like, there's a pretty wide angle to look around. And you might have to, like, turn around, like, almost do, like, a, left face to, see where you're going to shoot this monkey that's coming to steal your bananas. And it's basically kind of a, defend the area. You have 3 different areas. These monkeys come and they try to take bananas, and you have like a plunger that's on a bow and arrow, and you try to shoot these monkeys with these plunger arrows.
Yeah, naturally.
Like you do in the woods. It's how you hunt. But so far it's okay. There's different bosses, but I've only been able to get to the first boss. I don't know if I'm just out of shape or whatnot, but my arms get tired really quickly, like from holding up the bow the entire time.
You got to brush up on your archery skills.
I need to. My hands just get tired, and there's like so much shooting that goes on, and the waves aren't terribly long, but each wave just kind of runs into each other. And as far as I've noticed from my recollection, I don't really know if there's a way to pause the game in the middle of the game. So like I was trying to hit start, which there's a start button on the, and the same as the options with the Move controllers.
Would it be like one of the like X, circle, triangle, square buttons maybe?
I think I've tried those, but I don't think those do it either. I'm also getting like random upgrades and like the game doesn't tell you all that much, and that's fine, but I'm getting like random upgrades. Like I had this garlic that I got. There's even like a, I guess maybe degradable upgrades. I don't know how to say that. Degradable things, like if you accidentally shoot this power up, you'll have like a rock tied to the end of your plunger. And
downgrades.
That's the word.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Curtis. Downgrades, degradable.
Always there for you.
Same. Whatever. Thank you, Curtis. I appreciate that. But like you can't like shoot your arrow very far, and it just kind of messes you up. But I've played it probably about 5 times, like 5 different rounds, and each time I've gotten to the boss, like the first boss like the first main boss, and I still have not been able to take him down. I just feel like I'm still having trouble aiming. It's not super intuitive. Like if I see a monkey, like there's at times where I'm like, hey, there's a monkey right there. I just pull back and I shoot him. But
Right.
then there's other times where it's like, okay, I need to hit this target, and then I'm lining up, and I just still can't line it up
Do
correctly
you,
to shoot
and now
it.
granted, this is archery, so it's a bit different. Do you ever
Hmm.
feel like you missed a target even though you feel like you should have been dead on?
Um, Sometimes. The only reason I think about that is like the hit boxes are very I'd almost say like very correct. Like you can see like if a monkey's like walking with his hands to his sides, and then you shoot the plunger, and then if he takes his hand and then like puts it over his head like looking somewhere, like that plunger will go like right under his arm.
Sure. Well,
So I don't know if it's just the skinniness of the characters, but
the reason I bring it up is one of my issues with Brookhaven Experiment is there are times where I feel like I have my shot lined up perfectly and I still miss.
yeah,
And it can kind of get kind of frustrating, especially in a game like that where you're part of the point of the game is you're going to have limited ammo and limited supplies.
mm-hmm.
Like when you miss like that, even though you feel like you have the aim dead on,
Yeah,
it can get kind of frustrating. And I wonder, at least in that game, I wonder if there's two sides to it. I have a gameplay glimpse that should be up by the time you're seeing this, that I kind of go in a little bit more detail. But I wonder if there's a mixture of like bad tracking on the move controllers, but also
Yeah.
maybe my inexperience with shooting an actual gun, because like
Sure.
this game is kind of trying to simulate that.
Mhm.
And the reason why it really stood out to me more so is that when I compare it to something like Until Dawn, which is also, I'm wielding two guns and I am shooting in first person and I'm aiming and there's no like reticle that's helping my aim or anything. I'm just aiming in the direction that I feel like I should. And granted, that game's a bit more arcadey. I would assume that there's maybe some aim assist on that game, I would guess, or maybe it's a bit more lenient on where you need to hit, because I had zero issues with that game. Like
Okay.
all through, I beat Until Dawn, had no issues at all with any sort of aiming. And then I go to Brookhaven Experiment, and I feel like I have my shot lined up perfectly fine, and I still miss them sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now two different games, and I'm sure that, one maybe has a bit more of a leniency compared to the other. But I notice it, and it makes me not want to play that game very much anymore. So I wonder if certain games like that, where you're shooting things and aiming is a key component, I wonder if maybe there are some tracking issues that might occur.
And it is pretty frustrating when you just, and like I had this problem with like even other move games that came out on PS3, like especially like Child of Eden. It's like all I wanted to do was hit this object, or shoot this character or whatever it is, and I'm like, this could have just been utilized easier just with a controller. Like I could have just moved the analog stick up and shot this person, but every single time, like pulling back and shooting with the bow and arrow numerous times, and like one of the bosses is like this giant monkey in this mech kind of suit, and he's constantly just hitting you, and you just feel like you have like your window to shoot this monkey, and he's pretty far away. So of course, like the farther away he is, the harder it is for you to shoot him. It's fun just kind of to jump in and just shoot some monkeys, I guess, with plungers.
Right.
But I can't really say like I'm super enjoying it. And from what I can tell, there's only one mode. Like there's only just the single player mode, which is basically just one map and basically see how long you can last.
How many monkeys can you plunge?
I don't know. You have a score, like if you get a headshot, you get a score. There's like so like
now you said go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say the monkeys kind of have the Plants vs Zombies thing going on. So like how you have a zombie, but then the next upgraded zombie is a zombie with like a cone on his head.
Oh, sure.
And stuff like that. You have monkeys, and then you have monkeys in clown suits, and then you have monkeys with funky looking glasses that throw things and obscure your vision.
And eventually you build up, and you did mention like the boss monkey is kind of like a mech thing.
Yeah, so that's like what a boss is basically. Like it's just this giant monkey in a mech, and he's standing on top, but you have to shoot him.
Is there any chance that might be like an overt reference to like some other video game that came out this week or is coming out? or did come out?
I don't think so.
No,
But
no, like Prepare for Monkey Fall or anything.
Prepare for Monkey Fall. That sounds somewhat familiar. Let me check the books here. Oh yeah, there was a game called Titanfall 2 that came out.
Oh.
And yeah. I've been playing that very shortly, but I played a little bit of it.
And we should maybe say, like, I don't know how much we'll really go into this. We are recording this earlier than we normally would.
Yes.
So like a review code for this game just popped in your inbox, and you
Yes,
and I
it
both
did.
were like, "What?"
Yeah. This is really strange, but very.
So you're
very
gonna have some
thankful.
coverage, and you will at least probably have a video up before this thing even begins to go live, as far as podcasts are concerned.
Yes.
But you'll have some coverage of that game over the next
absolutely.
week or two. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah,
This is definitely one of the out of the shooter trio, I guess, if we want to call it that, between the Battlefield, Titanfall, and Call of Duty. This is definitely the one I was most interested in, is Titanfall 2.
So more to come, or do you feel like you can talk about this?
I feel like I can talk just a little bit, and mostly probably my expectation or my impressions probably have also come from the multiplayer beta that happened, or the pre-release alpha or whatever it was, or the technical test, I think is what they called it. Gameplay still feels very smooth. It actually feels like a game that is almost kind of like Rocket League in a weird way to me, that I can just be out of control, but the controls are just so spot on that, like, I know that if I want to run and sprint and throw a grenade and double jump to wall jump on this wall and glide on it and then jump off and, crouch and then shoot like two other guys, like, you can't really do that in like another game that like lets you have that much control. The game is very fast paced, which I love, kind of those fast paced games. I'm not really too much of a Battlefield fan, where it's pretty slow paced and directing orders and capturing objectives, stuff
but
like that.
You know what other game has that? Not to get too off track. Vanquish.
See, that's another good one. That's another good one. Yeah, that's a good example.
It was very different, very fast, but the controls were so spot on in that.
Yes.
That, like, if you wanted to do the crazy stuff you saw in the trailers, like, you could.
Yeah,
as
exactly.
long as you were good enough, you could, and it felt great.
Yeah.
So like Titanfall is a perfect example. Like you would name many others, like Bayonetta, of course, another platinum game. Rocket League is another good example of, like, we've talked about it many times before. It's just the amount of control you have.
Yeah.
Really heightens just how much fun you can have, because you can just do all sorts of weird stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, like, sometimes it's hard to, it's definitely, you can't blame the game for like, oh, well, the controls are too stiff or something like that. I mean, you just watch the Rocket League Pro series or whatever it is on Twitch sometime and just see, people just air shotting, goals from way out in the way out in the distance. But yeah, I was even watching like the opening cinematic trailer, and the cinematic trailers guys got this guy just doing all these random things, and I'm like, yeah, I could do that in this game. Which is really cool. But yeah, I just played a little bit of an intro, started up the campaign. But yeah, I'll definitely have a video, probably a gameplay glimpse, up on the site and on the YouTube page fairly soon. But cool. Very excited to play more. This is the first campaign that Vince Zampella and the Respawn team, which is, I don't know how many people from Infinity Ward came over after that whole debacle with Activision.
Yeah.
But Vince Zampella was the director on Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare, and Modern Warfare 2. Both very, very good single-player campaigns, in my opinion.
It's their first one since Modern Warfare 2, and that's
exactly. So
to me, that's a big deal. No matter your feelings on those games, I feel like that's one of the reason why I am so excited to check out the campaign for this game. As someone who doesn't really care for multiplayer shooters or anything like that.
Yeah,
I'm excited to play the campaign because it has been so long, and these are some of the people really that you can contribute a lot, or attribute a lot of Call of Duty's success over the past 10 or so years to them.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways, I think so.
Yeah,
very cool. One last thing I did want to talk about. I'll try to keep it brief as far as stuff we've been playing. Is World of Final Fantasy. Collin, this game is ticking all the boxes. It's checking everything I want. It's got it.
So I don't really know a ton about World of Final Fantasy, but just from the name alone, does that mean I can get like Titus from Final Fantasy X and Cloud from Final Fantasy VII in the same game talking to each other?
Well, I haven't run into either of the two of them, but in theory, yes. So, sort of. So, this is basically Pokemon is set in the Final Fantasy universe with tons and tons of Final Fantasy fan service. Basically, the way, like, you'll meet a lot of Final Fantasy characters from both the mainline games and some of the spin-offs. So I have met the goddess herself, Lightning.
Ooh.
I have met Yuna, Squall, Final Fantasy VIII.
Mm-hmm.
Who else? Who's some of the other big names that I've met so far? Riku from Final Fantasy X. So Sephiroth was part of my pre-order bonus.
Nice.
But these characters, they are called champions. So you meet them, and like you'll just meet them through the story, and they'll kind of be in these random locations, and you'll see them. It's like, oh, like I know who that is, but in this game, they aren't necessarily in the same position that they were in the games that they're from.
Yeah.
So like Yuna specifically, she doesn't necessarily know Titus or Riku or some of the other Final Fantasy X characters.
Okay.
But maybe they'll meet sometimes. And those champions can be used as summons in battle.
Okay.
And they'll do crazy attacks that are very much referential of their game that they're from. So Sephiroth, his attack is like straight up his ultimate attack that he does in the boss fight against him, which is all I will say, because I think you might have put that game down, but in case you do pick it up at some point.
Yeah, I still need to get back to it.
Yeah, there's some pretty cool stuff there.
Okay.
But it's loads and loads of Final Fantasy fan service and that's fine on its own. But the thing that really holds it together is this really interesting kind of Pokemon-esque battle system and gameplay. It's basically you have a ton of monsters you would know from Final Fantasy, from any given Final Fantasy game. You got your Chocobos and your Moogles and whatnot. But you can catch them now. It's called Imprison. And if you catch them and befriend them, you can create stacks up to 3. So there's like large, medium, and small sizes for each monster, and you can stack them, and the way that you stack them will determine different like elemental affinities and bonuses and how much defense and attack your stack will have. And so it gets very, very complicated, but it's like a really intricate system that's actually a lot of fun to kind of play around with and customize. And so I think that element, like if you're not a huge Final Fantasy person, or maybe you're not as attached to the series as other people are, I think you'll still get something out of this, because like the gameplay itself is actually really cool. And there is the way you catch them, it isn't just, oh, you've got to get them weak, like in Pokemon, and then you throw your not Pokeball out. There's actually like some monsters you can only catch if you put them to sleep, or if you inflict them with a confused status, or if you heal the monster, or maybe you have to like cast a certain kind of magic on them. And so there's like all these different ways to capture them, other than just like you gotta weaken them. So like there's actually like there are parts of this game where I'm like, man, I actually kind of wish Pokemon would do something similar, just to kind of change it up.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, every monster has its own like basically skill tree. It's pretty intense. There's a lot to this. I think I'm actually like kind of deep into the game, like the story wise. I don't know how much in post game content there is. I think the story itself isn't super long, but I am just having a blast with it. It is one I know the chippy art style itself might turn off some people. I love it. I'm like, I just think it looks fantastic. The writing is another thing I think might turn some people off. It can be it's very, very reliant on clever wordplay and puns and kind of cheesy and maybe cutesy in some instances dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's hilarious. I think it's super funny, very self-referential. The like flavor text descriptions for all of the monsters and characters you meet
Mm-hmm.
is incredible. Again, a lot of it's very much like, well, kind of a like like passing by a long shot, like a wink and a nod, is like straight up being like, oh yeah, um, we know like this monster you might know from this game, but blah blah blah, like or something. There's like, it's the type of thing that you want to go through like the bestiary and read all the descriptions and read the descriptions of every character you meet, because it's just really good. Like, it's very well written, it's very funny.
Mm-hmm.
So you have that. Like, the story itself is very typical JRPG. Like, there's a prophecy. You guys have, you can't remember anything, but you're the chosen one. You got to collect the four keys and do the thing and beat the ultimate evil. Yeah. And like, but what carries it is the two main characters are siblings, and so they're constantly jabbing at each other and you know, just like making fun of each other, but they also clearly care for. It's kind of that connection of like, you know, they'll make jokes about each other, but at the same time, like when the going gets tough, you know, they'll stick by each other's side. So it's kind of got that element going for it. It's just a lot of likable characters.
Okay.
And like even the interaction with the actual Final Fantasy characters is pretty cool. Not all of them are in it for a long time. Like, there are some that you meet and they're there for maybe 5 or 10 minutes and then you go on your way. And you maybe won't necessarily see them again, if at all, for the rest of the game. But like, the interaction you had was pretty cool, and it kind of made sense, I guess. There's also like there are kind of side story, side quests that you can do, which like kind of elaborate on a lot of the Final Fantasy characters. So like Riku, she's from Final Fantasy X. Like, I've done a few side stories for her where like she's been going on this treasure hunt, and every treasure chest she finds is another mimic.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's just seeing her frustration as she runs into mimic after mimic after mimic. It's great. I'm loving it. It is fantastic. It's the thing that's kind of holding me over until that certain other Final Fantasy game.
I was gonna mention.
Yeah.
What if like the end of this game, you get to the very end, and it's like, congratulations for beating World of Final Fantasy, but then it goes like, but now you must reclaim the throne. And then what if like
Collin,
what if like Chibi Noctis shows up?
Oh, dude. So like, that's the great thing they announced earlier this morning, alongside a plethora of other very exciting announcements from Square Enix, Collin. Sora from Kingdom Hearts is going to be a free download in December for World of Final Fantasy.
Oh, nice. Okay.
As another champion, which I'll probably have finished that game by then. But I'm totally gonna check it out, just because like every champion, the summon animation they have in battle is actually pretty long and elaborate, and they're very well done. So like, I really want to see what Sora's is gonna be. Because I love Kingdom Hearts. But on that topic, boy oh boy, Collin, this was an exciting morning for a number of different reasons. First off, let's start with Final Fantasy 15. We're gonna head into the news right now. Paris Games Week is going on. There's no Sony press conference, so we won't be discussing that. But there was kind of a little bit of a Square Enix block for a couple hours, where they made some pretty cool announcements. One of which, Collin, I have been waiting a very long time to be able to say this or just read the headline that says it. Final Fantasy 15 has gone gold. It's done.
So it's done.
They finished it. I mean, there's there's DLC and stuff that they're gonna be shifting over to, but the game's finished.
Now, does that mean Final Fantasy Versus 13 is now done? Is gone gold too?
Final Fantasy 15 itself has gone gold.
Okay.
Whatever Versus 13 is or isn't or could have been, we may never know.
Okay.
So that was the big thing. Tabata, who's the director of that game, walked out on stage holding finished pressed disc copies of the game on PS4
Wow.
and Xbox One.
And he started throwing them into the crowd.
And he just started throwing them in the crowd. You're getting Final Fantasy.
And you get Final Fantasy.
You get a Noctis. You get a Prompto. You're getting Gladiolus. And here's
That's
a Chocobo
funny.
for you. So
funny.
that was part one of the announcement. They then they were showing some gameplay footage of the finished game. And then they kind of pivoted over into talking about their plans for the season pass. Some of this, Collin, we've already known. So basically, the season pass contains DLC expansions that's going to like kind of surround your company, your friends that accompany you along the way. The part of the Brotherhood. So Gladiolus, Ignis, and Prompto will all have their own specific DLC where you'll be able to play as them, and it'll all be a totally different play style.
Mm-hmm.
So Gladiolus will play very differently from Ignis, who will play very differently from Prompto. And they'll all have their own DLC expansion storyline for them that kind of revolves around their character. Which sounds like, I think sounds really exciting. I think that's a super cool way to kind of do it, especially for a game that's so focused on these 4 characters. 15, obviously, it's going to be a bit more focused on Noctis, of course.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of his story. He's got to reclaim the throne, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one other thing that they did announce and we did not know. This is also going to be included in the season pass.
Okay.
So after all of that DLC is out, they will be putting out a online multiplayer expansion.
Go on.
For up to 4 players online, you will be able to play as either Noctis, Gladiolus, Ignis, or Prompto cooperatively in Final Fantasy 15.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's... I mean, I guess we can't say, like, well, is this the first time we've had multiplayer in a Final Fantasy other than an MMO Final Fantasy?
No.
Okay.
So, obviously, this is going to be drastically different from what we've seen before.
Mm-hmm.
But there have been Final Fantasy games, turn-based Final Fantasies, where you could technically turn the second controller on
Okay.
and have some form of control, I think, during battles.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was turn-based, so you could still have kind of a little bit of control there. I
Yeah.
never necessarily did that, so I can't speak too in-depth about it. But that did exist. I think I want to say in 7 and 9, I think.
Okay.
I'm probably wrong. There are details of this that it's probably not entirely correct, but I know that it did exist in prior Final Fantasy games. Obviously, the big difference here, this being more of an action RPG in real time, specifically, it's going to introduce a whole, like, I can't even, like, it really caught me by surprise. I caught a lot of people by surprise when they announced it, but the more I think about it, the more it's like, okay, that could be super cool. Like, if they pull it off and they do it right, by that point, they'll have 3 DLCs where they will have already made gameplay systems for all 4 of these characters.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I imagine that will be kind of the structure on which they build up this multiplayer mechanic. But man, I can't even, like, is it only going to be specific quests that you can do? Is it going to be like the story? Like, I can't even begin to imagine what it could be like, but it's exciting nonetheless. Like, I imagine it's probably a long ways off. Like, this could be something that a year from now we finally get.
Mm-hmm.
But man, that sounds super cool to me.
Yeah.
And then lastly, there is they put out a CG cinematic trailer for Final Fantasy 15 entitled Omen.
And oh man.
And oh man, it's good.
It's a hype trailer.
It's a big hype trailer.
Yeah.
We're just a month to go. Just 1 month left.
Yep.
We're almost there. It is something that if you are very, very strictly on, like, media blackout, maybe don't watch it. I think you, like, if you want to, like, go in blind, play the game, finish it, but go back and watch this trailer at some point, because it's a real good trailer.
Yep.
I don't think it necessarily, like, there's a couple things that you could maybe kind of pull out of that trailer and be like, oh, I don't know, that might be hinting at something. I don't think it necessarily is, But if
Yeah.
you be on the safe side, of course, with stuff like this, we're close enough as it is. You don't want anything too crazy spoiled for you. And then after that, they kind of rolled right in to some Kingdom Hearts stuff. Now this was very unexpected because like it was kind of like, oh yeah, we got some announcements to make about Kingdom Hearts, and it's like, well, we know that you're not talking about Kingdom Hearts 3 because you've already told us not to expect anything new until next year.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was kind of that like, what are you going to announce? What is there to announce? Well, Collin, let me tell you, Kingdom Hearts 1.5 and 2.5 are going to be combined into a bundle, released on PlayStation 4 in March of next year, March 28th.
Right. And when's 2.8?
2.8 is January 24th.
Okay.
Same day as Resident Evil 7.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
So both of those, so you will, by March of next year, you will be able to have almost every single Kingdom Hearts game on PlayStation 4. Which is super exciting.
Yeah.
For one. Also, like having 1.5 and 2.5 together with everything they come with for like $50 is an incredible deal.
Yeah.
That is Kingdom Hearts 1, Kingdom Hearts 2, that's Chain of Memories, that is 358 over 2 days, the cinematic cutscenes from that game.
Mm-hmm.
That is Birth by Sleep, that is
Dream
Kingdom
Drop
Hearts
Distance.
Recoded, the cinematic cutscenes from Recoded, that is Dream Drop Distance, that is like the movie they're making based on this Kingdom Hearts Kai thing. And then that is also Kingdom Hearts Point 2, which is like the prologue for Kingdom Hearts 3, where you play as Aqua. It's kind of built on Unreal Engine 4, and it's kind of the lead into 3. So that might be everything. That might be all of them. Maybe there's one or two missing. Some of those games are only just cutscenes because like porting the DS game to PS3 at the time would have been a mess. So, but that is like if you want to get caught up on Kingdom Hearts, like that's how you're gonna do it. And man, it gives me hope. Very, very tiny, very, very, very tiny. But the fact that this is coming out in March gives me hope that perhaps at the end of next year, maybe, just maybe.
Oh man,
we might have a big release on our hands.
Yeah.
Just maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But that's exciting, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Collin, the crazy news isn't over. Perhaps you forgot.
It's not over.
Perhaps you forgot. I don't know if this happened earlier this week or if it was last week, but we gotta mention it.
Mm-hmm.
The Last Guardian is done.
I just almost don't believe it.
That game has
like,
also gone gold.
It's like, part of me is like, oh man, I don't believe it. But part of me is like, it's about time. Like, part of me is like, thank goodness.
Both that and Final Fantasy 15. It's just like, man.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. But we're here.
Yeah.
They're both like, they're done.
Yeah.
Those games are coming out in a little over a month.
Yeah.
Knack is getting a PlayStation 4 Pro patch.
Yeah, it is.
Can't see me, but I'm nodding my head.
Yeah.
Smiling. Yeah, it is. They announced MLB The Show 17.
Yeah.
Also coming out March 28th, 2017. This features Ken Griffey Jr. on the cover.
Yeah, with the Seattle Mariners, not the Cincinnati Reds. Thank goodness, I guess. Sorry.
Whoa.
Sorry, Cincinnati fan. He was a Seattle Mariner much longer than he was a Cincinnati Red. Just saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, this has a lot of different versions. You even have to go to the PlayStation blog, and they even put up a chart of what Standard Edition, MVP Edition, Hall of Fame Edition, and Digital Deluxe Edition you can all pre-order from all of your favorite respective retailers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of a weird thing. One thing I will note is that the Hall of Fame Edition and MVP Edition come with a steelbook, which basically has like on the back, it has steelbook, and like on the back it has Griffey and then number 24, and then on the front it says the show 17, and then like his autograph. I think it looks really cool. I do think like the GameStop $99 or $100 edition that you can get at GameStop comes with a New Era hat that says the show 17 on the side of it, which I think is kind of cool.
Okay.
They used to do that a long time ago for the PS2 games. I remember like.
So let
It
me
was
ask you this question.
yeah.
Maybe you know, maybe you would be in the know on this.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of sports games, when they choose their cover athlete, usually they choose someone who's, maybe the most recent year has had a standout year or something.
Yeah.
I feel like MLB The Show kind of plays by their own rules in this respect. Like, I feel like, maybe I'm wrong. I feel like the past couple years they've chosen people who are like, and I guess actually NBA 2K has maybe done this sometimes too, where like they'll choose someone who's like actually maybe been out of the game for a couple years now, or like
Yeah.
there was a couple years ago where who was it? I mean, NBA The Show did like Michael Jordan for their 25th, I think, anniversary, which you can kind of like get that. Like I think like Kobe Bryant was on the cover one year, like a couple years ago, which seemed like that's interesting. I mean, like I know he's still like playing, but kind of out of his prime, or not anymore. Yeah, but I think at the time,
at the time, yeah. So
yeah. So Ken Griffey Jr. Why do you think they chose him?
Well, I'm gonna give you the I'm gonna give you one answer, and then I'm gonna give you the correct answer. Okay. I think one answer is just maybe because they want to do something more retro or something. Like maybe there's somebody not that hot right now that they decide they want to put on the show.
Correct me. He's retired, correct?
Yes.
I don't really. Okay. How long has he been retired for?
I want to say it's got to be at least like 7-8 years. I think he's already. I think he's already been voted into the Hall of Fame.
Well, so I was gonna ask, is it maybe a Hall of Fame thing?
I'm trying to find it on the PlayStation blog, and I'm pretty sure I found this somewhere. But basically, from what I've been hearing, or what I thought I read, was that Ken Griffey Jr. is going to be like one of the legends you can play as in the game. So like I think NBA 2K did it where like you can play as the Dream Team like from back in the day. I think MLB The Show is doing that thing too. So basically you can have like old Hall of Fame players in the game. I think that's what they're going for. Okay. So I think that's a lot of it's probably just to promote Ken Griffey Jr. Or... Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I think they are. Yeah, it says we'll also have more details on the cover athlete who will be featured on the Canadian version of the standard edition soon.
Oh,
which I think is actually kind of cool. They've done this for the past few years. I want to say it's about 3 years in a row. So, like when Joe Mauer was on the cover, I think they also like for the past. So, 3 years ago, I think they had Jose Bautista from the Toronto Blue Jays. They had Jose Bautista again, I think, another year. I think last year they had Josh Donaldson, who was on the U.S. cover. And I also think they had Josh Donaldson from the Blue Jays on the Canadian cover. But I do think in Canada, for the Blue Jays, they have a Blue Jays player on the cover, which I think is pretty cool.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about some PSN stuff.
Okay.
We've been mostly covering retail games up to this point, other than VR stuff.
Yeah.
Let's get back to our roots.
Our roots. Our Ace Bananas. What?
Our roots. So we got a couple other announcements, and we're going to talk about this PlayStation Plus lineup as well.
Mm-hmm.
Big show this week. So As Divine Hearts is a kind of traditional JRPG. It's coming out on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, and PlayStation Vita. This winter, I believe it's going to be cross-buy on everything. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of information on this. They do have a trailer for it. I can't confirm this. It looks like it might be made by RPG Maker or in RPG Maker. Plenty of customization that they've done on that. Not that it's just the bare bones RPG Maker engine. It does look pretty good. But I feel like you can generally tell when a game is made in RPG Maker. Mm-hmm. For better or worse. I think this game looks interesting. Okay. It is coming out, I think, before the end of the year. It might get pushed back. But it's sometime this winter. It looks interesting, if nothing else. Not a whole lot of information, but it looks, your standard traditional JRPG. Which is pretty cool. We need more of those.
Cool.
And then we also have Night in the Woods got a date finally. It's coming out January 10th on PlayStation 4. This is a game that's kind of gone through the Kickstarter process has been in development for a few years now. It was supposed to come out this year, got pushed back. It is a game that I've had my eye on for quite some time now. Very excited to dig in when this does come out in January. I'm just going to kind of read a quick synopsis they have on the PlayStation blog, because I think that'll do a better job of describing this game than any of us would. So it says, 20-year-old May Borowski has dropped out of college and come home to Possum Springs. May is a cat. A small Rust Belt town out in the middle of nowhere. She's looking to meet up with old friends and resume her previous life of aimless hanging out and petty crimes. But the old places are now less familiar. Her former friends have grown and changed while she was away. Strange things are starting to happen. And at the edge of town, past the old burned-out basketball court, there's something in the woods. So this is an adventure game very heavily focused on like character interaction. Seems like there's a greater mystery, maybe a darker mystery somewhere in the woods, hence the name Night in the Woods. If you go back and like watch that initial trailer from the Kickstarter page, that's the thing that sold me on it. It's just like the vibes and the atmosphere from that trailer alone, just the music, the way the game looks, everything about it is like had me immediately on board. So I'm super excited to check this out finally and see how it's turned out after all these years. It's been a few years, I think, since it was originally on Kickstarter. It's been over 2 years, is what they say. So I'm pretty excited for this.
Yeah, cool.
All right. So Collin, why don't you run down this PlayStation Plus November lineup?
Oh boy, so we have the PlayStation Plus November lineup, starting with your free PlayStation 4 games. We have, drumroll please, from, thank you, Curtis. Thank you for the drumroll. I appreciate that.
Always
we have the Chinese Rooms and Sony Santa Monica's Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, and Atlas's and Ace Team's The Deadly Tower of Monsters.
Whoa.
I highly recommend The Deadly Tower of Monsters. I reviewed this game way back in the old January.
Ye old January.
Basically what you are is you're on a set of you're basically playing like a director's commentary of an old like 1980 or like 1940s film. Wouldn't be 80s, it'd be like 40s
B-movie,
film.
monster
Yeah,
movie.
very like B movie, monster movie. So like you have the gorilla that's like coming to get you, but he's clearly made out of plastic and has like puppet arms. And like he picks you up at one section, and then your character's just like ragdolling all over the place because it's not actually the actual character; it's just a doll that they put in there.
Cardboard sets and
very funny. And basically you need to scale this deadly tower of monsters. It's for those trophy hunters out there, it is a pretty achievable platinum, I will say that. But I highly recommend that. Everybody's Gone to the Rapture is it's a good game, I would say.
It's a game I reviewed.
Yeah.
You and I both. So you.
I platinumed this game.
You platinumed it. You and I both have played this game and talked about it before.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I like it. It's worth playing.
It's worth playing. Yeah.
I don't know if it's worth platinuming, but I really enjoyed the soundtrack. I really enjoyed the setup. I just feel like its payoff was very lackluster.
Yeah, like I think there's some really great atmosphere. The soundtrack is fantastic. There's a lot to like about this, and especially for free, you can't really go wrong on that.
Yeah.
Just there's a lot of build up as well. Don't expect to be satisfied with where the game ends.
Yeah, I agree.
But if you go in with your expectations in check, I think you could probably have a pretty good time.
Yeah, definitely. Moving on, we have the PlayStation 3 games. We have Dirt 3, and then we also have Costume Quest 2 on PlayStation 3, which I actually have the PlayStation 3 version of Costume Quest 2.
I was gonna ask you, I'm not crazy, right? There was a PS4 version of Costume Quest 2.
Yes, there's a PlayStation 4 version of Costume Quest 2.
Are they not cross-buy?
I don't believe so, because I have it on PS3.
That's a bit of a bummer.
Because I'm saying this on the podcast. You can call me out at Bossman C. Crowder. I went in. So this plan backfired, Curtis. This plan
Is
backfired.
this another one of those games where you
This
have
is
both
another one of
versions
those. This is another one of those versions
because
where
of
I
your
bought
separate trophy lists?
Yes, I bought Costume Quest 2 on
Oh my
PS3, thinking that they'll release Costume Quest 2 on Plus on
Collin.
PS4 at some point. And so it backfired. So now I already had the PS3 version. I should have bought the PS4 version. The game runs pretty much identical, I would assume. Like there's no hindrance
I
at
would
all
hope
on
so.
the PS. There's nothing wrong with the PS3 version. I've played it and 100%ed it. Plus, I also had the first Costume Quest on my PS3, so I thought I might as well just get the second one there too.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I was trying to also double up on the trophies at some point. I do not have Costume Quest 2 on PS4. I was hoping that was going to come out on Plus at some point.
Guess what?
Guess what? My plan completely backfired.
That's what you get.
I know. I deserve
Costume
it.
Quest 2 is fantastic. It's great.
Yeah, I
love
really
both
like
of those
it.
games. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Check it out
Yeah.
if you can. Dirt 3, I actually bought
Oh, okay.
way back when it came out. I don't think I played all of it, but I played a good amount of Dirt 3, and it was real weird, like not type of game I usually play, and I really enjoyed it for what it was. It's an older game. It's been around for a while.
Is that a Codemasters game?
I believe so.
Okay. I always get kind of my racing devs mixed up.
I think I feel less confident now.
Okay. I
Go
might
on.
be wrong.
Go to the Vita stuff.
Okay. The Vita stuff, which is also, we also have some cross-buy titles here. So Letter Quest Remastered is coming to PlayStation Vita as a Plus title, but it is also cross-buy with the PlayStation 4 version.
I'm really excited to play this.
Yeah, this was a recent release. This only came out a couple months ago, didn't it?
Yes.
From what I remember? Okay.
I never got around to buying it, so I do really want to check it out because I think it looks cool.
Yeah. And then Pumped BMX Plus is coming to Vita and is also cross-buy with PS3 and PS4. Curtis, do you know anything about Pumped BMX Plus?
Dirt 3 is Codemasters. I don't. I've seen like screenshots of Pump BMX Plus, and
okay, yeah, this is the game I was thinking of.
Enough to know that I'm not super interested in it.
Okay, this is actually the game I was thinking of. I think a long time ago, I wrote an article for this on the site.
Uh-huh.
And it looks kind of like a Flash game.
It does.
But I don't mean to be derogatory because I haven't played it. It's like stick
figure on a bike.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to say it's a poor man's Trials, but
we don't judge games by how they look, or we don't write reviews about games on how they look, but I've seen the game and I've never really had a huge interest in it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
But that's coming to PlayStation 4 as well. So you're getting 4 PS4 games if you want to look at it that way, which is really cool. You're getting 3 PS3 and just 2 Vita.
So I think for me,
yeah, go ahead.
Deadly Tower Monsters and Letter Quest are probably the two that I'll check out at some point.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of tough for me, especially this month, because I have 3 out of the 6 games on this list. Maybe you can download Everybody's Gone to the Rapture again and finally get trophies for that game. Maybe.
No.
Yeah,
I keep forgetting about that. It was one of the weirdest inside baseball talk, I guess. When we got review codes for Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, they were so worried about spoilers that this is the only time I can ever remember this happening, ever, for us in the era of trophies and achievements. Our version, the version of Everybody's Gone to the Rapture that I own, does not have any trophies tied to it. And they mentioned that when they emailed it to us. They're like, we don't want spoilers to get out for this game, so there are no trophies. And so it was like I remember like playing it and reviewing it before it came out, and then like talking to you, because it was like, and like trying to look up the trophy list once it went live, because I was so fascinated by what it could be or what they could be. And it was like a whole lot of nothing. It still bewilders me to this day, because like I don't think there's a single trophy in there that would have spoiled anything major.
Yeah.
it was just the weirdest thing.
And you know what, Curtis? If you asked me to tell you the end of Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, I don't know if I could tell you what even happened.
Well, we don't want to say anything specific, obviously, if anyone hasn't played it.
And I know exactly. I don't want to,
Yeah.
but I don't necessarily know if I can say anything specific because I don't remember.
I could. I think I could, but
Yeah.
like
That's
I said, I don't go in expecting the ending to really blow you away.
Yeah.
It's about the journey and not the destination on this one.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's gonna do it for us.
Okay.
Collin,
Sounds like a good show.
It's been a good one. I feel good about this. A lot of good news, a lot of interesting talk about some games we were playing.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining me as always.
Oh, you're very welcome.
I look forward to your continuing Titanfall 2 coverage.
Me too.
That it came out of nowhere on us, but sure, we'll make do with it. We'll figure something out.
Mm-hmm.
I am man, God, next week is Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Or this week, and then week after that is Watch Dogs and PlayStation 4 Pro. Like, we're in it.
Yeah.
We're getting towards the end of it.
Keep forgetting about Watch Dogs.
Yeah, and Dishonored too. Which is, all sorts of stuff coming up in the next couple weeks.
Yep.
And
It'll be December.
It all ends with Final Fantasy 15 and The Last Guardian. Like, what better way to do it? But that's gonna do it for us. Thanks for listening. As always, we'll be back here next week with more to talk about. Collin, of course, I will see you then.
Yes.
It'll be fun. And by the way, Collin, I don't know if you saw this, but they announced Red Dead Redemption 2.